So I want to give some feedback on this spreadsheet. This is Rita Retail exercise 9, and the student here has completed this spreadsheet and arrived at the correct figures. We've got profit down here of 30,000, and we've got net assets over here of 385, and equity, of course, of 385,600. That all looks okay. However, we haven't used the Excel spreadsheet to its best capabilities. Behind these cells here, for example, let's have a look at this cell here. We've got 240,000 worth of cash sales and 12,000 worth of credit sales for a sum total of 252,000 worth of sales. But behind this figure here, there isn't any equation. What's happened is the person has simply added 12,000 and 240,000 manually and input into this cell 252,000. Then we want to deduct sales returns, and in this cell we want that figure 252,000 minus 2,000 equals 250,000. That's the correct figure. Behind this cell here, if I've selected this cell up here, it's got 250,000, so I can see that that's the only thing in the cell. If I was to double click on that cell, I can see that it's merely 250,000. What we want to do though is use Excel to perform functions for us. We want it to do the calculations. We don't want to do manual calculations. That's why we're using Excel. We don't want to use it simply like a piece of paper where we write all the figures on it and we do all the calculations. No. Let's not trust us to do manual calculations. Let's trust Excel to do all the calculations for us. So, for example, this net sales figure, we want it to do the calculation. And the calculation would be equals this cell, 252,000, minus this cell of 2,000. Then hit enter, and that gives us the same figure. Now, if I double click on this cell, I can see that behind this figure of 250,000 is this equation, equals J8, this cell here, minus J9, this cell here. And that's exactly the calculation we want Excel to perform for us. Likewise, this figure here, 252,000, which is the sum of 240 and 12. And we could use the function sum, but more simply, we might simply type in equals, just do that again, equals this cell plus that cell, I7 plus I8. I could have typed it in there, but I used the cursor to select the cell I wanted to do there, then hit enter. I still got 252,000, but I've used Excel to do the calculation for me. If I double click on that cell, it shows me that it says I7, this cell, plus I8, that cell. And then when I hit enter, it gives the value of that equation behind the scenes there. So those are the equations that we want to have Excel do for us. And I'm going to go through some more of those things there comprehensively with this spreadsheet. Over here, what we've got classifications, and these are classified correctly. We've got SE for sales expense, advertising expense there is a sales expense. We've got non-current liabilities, COGS, yes, a couple of COGS, sales expense, a current asset, a revenue, COGS, revenue, and that's good. We've classified those. And in doing it like this, these are still in alphabetical order. We would have to do one by one. Advertising expense down here, write it in, and the person here has written in advertising. I can tell that because it's got a small a and it doesn't say advertising expense. So we haven't copied and pasted. They've actually written it in. Let's not write it in. Let's not treat it like a blank piece of paper where we manually write everything. Let's use the functionality of Excel. So you would copy this cell up here, C9. I select that, Control C, then select down here where I want it to go, and Control V. I could right click and click paste, and I'd paste that in there. Likewise, I would have grabbed the both items here. Let me just undo this one here. Control Z. There it is, got advertising back again. I would have selected both these cells, advertising expense and 450,000. Control C, selected where I want it to go down here. And now I've got that 450 there. If I deleted that, if that wasn't there, I've got this 450 here, which I can grab the green, when I select the cell, when I run my cursor over the edge of the cell, my cursor goes from this big fat white plus sign to a little skinny black plus sign. And then when I left click and drag, I can drag that there. Another way I can do that is to Control X for cut, move my cursor where I want this figure to go, and do a Control V for paste, or simply hit enter and it moves for me. So what I've done is copied the exact title and the exact amount and then moved the amount to where I wanted it to go. Okay, so that's one thing I can do. But in using Excel, I want to order all these accounts and their figures and group them into all their classifications. So this is how I might do that. I'm going to grab that classification header there. I might just cut and paste, copy and paste, Control C, move my cursor there and paste it in. So I did that by Control C. Then with my cursor, selected the cell where I wanted it to go and hit either Control V or just hit enter. Boom, and there it is. Now, when I want to select with my, I'm left clicking on my mouse and keeping it pressed, I'm going to select all the items here. So I've done that with a left click on the mouse. I'll just click that one to stop that selection. If I go to this cell here, I want to left click and then select all of that by holding down the left click on my mouse. Okay, and I've selected the whole table. I can let go of my finger on the mouse and everything here under the headings, including the headings, has been selected. I now want to go up to here, way up to here, the little A to Z funnel. This is called sort and filter. And at the bottom part of this little rectangle where it's got the little drop down button, click in here and we've got a number of options. I want to select this custom sort, and this window pops up. First thing I'm going to do, over here it says my data has headers, and it does. I did select the headers over here, the headings of my table, so I want to make sure that box is ticked. Now I go to this first drop down box and I want to select the column marked Klassen for classification because I want to sort everything in this table in order of their classifications. So I select classification. I want to make sure on the right hand side here where it says order, I want it ordered in alphabetical order. I can have it in reverse alphabetical order or some other option, but I want it ordered in alphabetical order, A to Z. Then hit OK and watch what happens. Boom. Everything is ordered here in order of alphabetical order of this column. And because I'd selected all three columns, all the accounts and their amounts have been ordered in order of this column here, classification. And we've got assets, sorry, it's not assets, it's administration expenses. Then I've got current assets, current liabilities, COGS, E for equity, FE for finance expenses, not iron, for the chemists there amongst us, non-current assets, revenues and sales expenses. So at least now they are all grouped together. That's an improvement. But let's improve this one more step. Because we can order these in order of alphabetical order, I would like all my expenses grouped together. I would like all my assets grouped together. And I would like all my liabilities grouped together. And while we're at it, why not group all the equities and revenues together? So this is how I'm going to do it. Instead of writing AE for advertising expense, I'm going to write EA for expense advertising. Okay, next one here, EA for expense advertising. What that'll do is when I do that to all my expenses, expenses down here, EF, let's just do that now, EF for expense finance, and now these sales expenses, if I go ES, 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 when I do this ordering in alphabetical order, all my expenses will all be grouped together under EA, EF, and ES. At least they're all grouped together. That's another improvement. Now these assets here, if we do this in order of, if we type in current assets and current liabilities, well, we've got all our current accounts grouped, but I don't want all my current accounts grouped with, I don't want my current liabilities grouped with current assets. I want my non-current assets grouped with my current assets, and I want my non-current liabilities grouped with my current liabilities. So if I classify my current assets as AC instead of CA, AC, AC, and down here my non-current assets as ANC, whoops, ANC, ANC, then all my assets will be grouped together under A. So to liabilities, let's go LC for liability current, and down here for, instead of non-current liability, I want to write liability non-current, or LNC. With these revenues, well, there are my revenues. Let's leave them there for the moment. E for equity. Okay. If I put this in alphabetical order, I might do that now. Let's do this again. So I'm going to select this whole table, including with the headers. Select the whole table. And I'm going to go up here to Sort Filter and select the drop-down button. Select Custom Sort. It's still the previous one we looked at where it's got the My Data Has Headers is ticked. The classification is the classification column in order of alphabetical order A to Z. Click OK. Boomba. Watch this. Here are all my assets ordered in order of current and non-current. Whoops, there they are, 5 of them all together. They are all there at the top, all grouped together. My cogs are all still together. My drawings here, just E is at the top here of all the E's. Watch this. Here's all my expenses. All my expenses are grouped together. EA, EF, ES. That's not quite the order we want them over there, but at least they're all together. All my expenses are together. All my liabilities are together. And all my revenues are together down here. Let's have a look at the statement of income here. The first column where we've got all the account names, I can see that the person here has actually typed them in. So under sales down here, instead of cutting and pasting, they've actually written them in. They've written in cash sales, and I can tell that because it's got a small c on the cash. Because I've got capital C in the cash down here, cash sales, credit sales, I've got capital C's, and on sales returns I've got a capital S. Here we don't have any capitals, so I can tell that instead of copying and pasting, they've written them all in. Oops, I've got capitals happening already. Cash sales. We don't want to write cash, no, not cash sales. Credit sales, sales returns. We don't want to type all that in. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to do things quickly and efficiently. Down here, we've grouped all the revenues together. Cash sales, credit sales, sales returns. And they just so happen to be in the very order we want them over here. What I'm going to do here is highlight the accounts and their amounts. The accounts and their amounts. 3 of them. I'm going to do a Control C. I could do a Control V. Control X. Let's try this. Control X. I'm going to do a Control X. Control X cuts and then paste. I'm going to do a Control X and then a Control V. The difference is, instead of just copying